Welcome to the Fitness Business Podcast, brought to you by Active Management, the world's leading fitness business coaches who in 2015 will help you #grow your business. This is the world's #1 podcast for fitness business owners and managers. We interview real owners and learn what has been working for them to make them so successful. Here's the host of the Fitness Business Podcast, Chantal.
Hey everyone, welcome along to our first show for November. Now, before we start the show, I have to tell you that as I am recording this, we have just had a huge hailstorm in Sydney this afternoon. So there's a good chance you might hear a little bit of background noise. So I apologise in advance, but let's get stuck into the show anyway. Now, we're definitely coming up to that time of year where we are fast heading for the silly season. But I don't want you to stop learning just yet, because over the next 8 weeks, I have got an incredible lineup of guests for you. We have people like Christine Thowitz from ACAC Fitness and Wellness Centre. We've got Dr. Brian K. Williams, who chats to us about service excellence and organisational effectiveness. Author Michelle Seeger, who joins us to chat about her book No Sweat, and the Idea Fitness Instructor of 2016, the incredible Amy Dixon, will also be joining us. So as you can hear, there is lots and lots of great information coming your way over the next 8 weeks. Now, speaking of amazing people, let me tell you about today's guest. Tim Keightley is an experienced visionary leader, and he's been the driving force behind some of the most successful health and fitness brands in the world. He's got a track record that includes creating the largest personal training business in Europe and elevating some of the most successful in the US. Tim is also a highly sought after speaker who inspires people with his motivating and captivating presentations about teamwork and his one team philosophies. Most recently, Tim was a key executive behind the expansion of Gold's Gym International as the Executive Vice President of Operations. He's now sharing his knowledge and expertise with leading brands on a variety of projects as a senior advisor. Now, as you heard through there, one of Tim's key areas of expertise is around personal training. So that's where we've focused our chat for today. And some of the things that we cover off are how to keep a personal training department motivated, what numbers a PT should be evaluated on, and 3 tips for growing a PT business. Now, also in this week's show, we're going to be launching our November prize giveaway. And this month, we're going to be giving away a copy of the Mike Michalowicz book, Profit First. So to hear how you can win, make sure you keep listening until the end of the show. That's it, guys. Enjoy this week's show with special guest, Tim Keightley. Welcome to the show, Tim. I'm really excited to have you here today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be on. I hope I can live up to your previous guest.
I'm sure you can. Now, why don't you start off with such a rich history and so much experience? Do you want to tell us a little bit about what it is that you're currently doing in the fitness industry?
Yeah, absolutely. Long story short, I taught my first class in 1983, first PT session in 1987, and didn't have a clue what I was doing. And through many years of people slapping me around, mentoring me, and having a chance to learn from that, I eventually worked through many companies around the world. And then about 18 months ago, I just said to myself, okay, it's about time I started giving back, and decided to set up my own business, consulting mainly here in the USA for businesses out here, but sharing what I've learned, sharing the many mistakes I've made, so hopefully others don't make it. And then also trying to remind people at the end of the day, this is still a fitness business where people are supposed to enjoy it, have fun, get results, and not take ourselves too serious.
So what sort of, when you're working with businesses these days, is it a certain part of the business? So you're working with personal trainers or business owners, or a combination?
It's a combination. Originally, or normally, people will talk to me about PT, having built some of the biggest PT businesses around the world with some great teams. But obviously, at the same time, I became the Executive Vice President, equivalent to the COO for Gold Gym International. So I've also worked in operations and sales. So generally, they'll talk to me first and foremost, PT, Group X, and then it will branch out most of the time into everything from company culture, sales, organization. I would just simply say that for me, I have a simple little slogan when I work with everybody, which is to move any business from numbers-focused, numbers-driven to people-focused, numbers-driven. Because at the end of the day, without great people doing great things, feeling good, nothing changes.
It's really interesting you say that, Tim. So with that in mind, and with us seeing so many new fitness businesses emerging with less and less people, like a lot of the 24-hour models, what's your thoughts on business models that are utilising less people within the businesses?
Well, the market and the world has changed a lot. Older people like me used to like people to look them in the eye and say hello, good morning to you. I understand today that the millennials, etc., everybody, it's a phone to talk to each other, a text message in many cases. So it depends what marketplace you're going after. Personally, I have a very open mind to it all. We've got less than 20% of the population in most of the Western countries taking part in fitness. Personally, I don't care how we get them involved. There's a big enough marketplace out there to get everybody attracted.
Okay, so let's talk more about people, because that's, as you say, that's kind of such a focus, and also I want to dive into your experience within personal training areas. So when you're working with a personal training department and when you have previously managed PT departments, how do you find is the best way to keep those guys motivated?
Let me start by telling you the worst way to try and motivate them, because generally it's the one that most people try. Mm-hmm. To give you an idea, I have a thing called 21 Questions to Your Success, which is many questions I've learned, begged, borrowed, stolen around the world over the years. But one of the questions in there, number 5, says, why are you in fitness? And I've actually asked this question since 1996 when I first started training trainers for a living. Why are you in fitness? And I've asked over 14,000 people since then. Nobody ever has said to sell for a living. Yet, ironically, when you look at most businesses around the world in PT, they're all set up about how much you can sell. You're the best personal trainer if you sold the most. So the very first thing I would say is, let's seek first to understand before being understood. Why do people do personal training? Change lives, make people happy, live their passion. Everything from wearing pajamas to work and shouting to people, whatever it is, it's not to sell for a living. So I highly recommend that you find out why your PTs want to do this, who they want to do it with and what they want to do for them, and then build your business around that, i.e. motivate them on goals. It's not just how much did you sell. Maybe who services the most clients per month. Maybe who gets the most renewals, which means the clients are happy and they come back. Maybe it's as simple as, why not get feedback from the members in the gym and the clients? And actually, like we do with businesses where we get net promoter scores on the business itself, we could do that on the PTs themselves. There's many things you can look at with the PT to motivate them. Of course, money is important, but generally for a personal trainer, if it was purely about money, they'd be on Wall Street trying to sell finance. It's not what they're in it for. So think about what puts a smile on their face. Motivating them at internal competitions, not just for them, but with their clients. The list goes on. But the most important thing is to acknowledge why they do it. And it isn't just to sell for $1, a buck, a pound, whatever it may be.
So do you think when we go about employing a personal trainer, if we're a business owner and we're looking to build our personal training team, with that in mind, what are you looking for? What would you suggest that we look for when actually recruiting new trainers to our team?
First and foremost, define what it is you want your business to stand for, because there's many different styles of personal training. For example, mine is very simple. Even though I was qualified to teach people sports conditioning rehab, I didn't enjoy it. So actually, I'm not a very good personal trainer for that clientele. Personally, I enjoyed working with recycled teenagers, also known as the over 55s, because we just had fun.
I like that term.
Yeah. Well, I'm about to become one next month, so I get it. There's something amazing when somebody says to you, do you know what? I played football with my kids for the first time in so long.
Yeah.
Or I got up the stairs and didn't ache, or I just got up in the morning and felt good when I got out of bed. So the reason I say that is define what your business is about, what your marketplace is, who your clientele are, how you want them to be treated and served. Then look at what personal trainer do you need to deliver that.
Absolutely. So if we were to look again, putting ourselves, let's say, in the role of a personal training manager or a business owner, and we wanted to keep track of how our personal trainers are actually performing. Mm-hmm. And as you said earlier, it's without putting the focus on sales all the time. What type of areas would you say are best for us to evaluate as far as how they're actually performing? You've already mentioned a couple of them, but if you had to put together, I guess, a criteria, what would be included in that?
First and foremost, for a personal trainer to work anywhere I've worked in the world, it was compulsory they had a 12-month business plan. We would design it for them, we'd show them how to do it, but you had to have a 12-month business plan within 90 days of starting. The reason I say that is most personal trainers, and I was as bad as you could imagine for many years, would spend days putting together a 12-month program for somebody's health, for their results and their goals. But we won't spend 12 minutes putting a business plan together for the health of our own business. So basically, the first thing you need to do is have a business plan. That business plan, when done well, will be able to tell the personal trainer how many people I need to speak to today to earn what I want to earn in a year's time. The reason I say that again is if you're a manager, a leader, or an owner of a PT business, when you have clarity like that for your personal trainers, it's so much easier to work with them on, let's get out on the floor and talk to 10 more people today. Let's go outside of here. Let's do some small group training. Let's go on a corporate location, because now everybody's in tune with a goal. So first and foremost, a business plan. Once you have a business plan, there's certain things you should then look for. Sales is obviously a major component, but it's not the only component. So anybody who's done sales knows that there are measurements of sales, KPIs, key performance indicators. So you look at conversion ratios, show ratios, contact to appointment ratios. In other words, how many people do we need to talk to, present to, and give that wow magic moment to for them to become a client? So that would be one area of the business for them. Another you would then look at is how many sessions they do, whether it's by week, by day, by month. Then on top of that, renewal, because it's important their clients keep coming back. And then you can start to look at other areas of the business with them. You can look at results for their actual clients. So it goes on.
Tim, one of the things that I noticed when I was having a look at your profile and everything is during the time that you worked for Gold's Gym, you did a series of cool little videos that kind of demonstrated different exercises and stuff like that. In my experience, I find that quite often PTs, and sometimes they're the PTs that are the highest achievers, tend to get a little bit stagnant in their roles, a little bit stale with doing the same thing over and over again. What type of activities, I guess, have you found in your own personal experience and working with teams that you can implement to keep things interesting? And the video is what springs to my mind, to keep things interesting for personal trainers within your department.
Well, again, one of the things that we want to motivate them is also to reward. So tapping into that, the rewards can also come through education. It could be that they become the personal trainer who's the face of the club on the videos. But realistically, for most PTs, it's actually quite a tough job. A lot of people don't realize it. You're everything from a priest to a social worker, to a psychiatrist, to a lawyer, and then you have to teach exercise at the same time. So it's quite an intense job. So things to keep them motivated is also, hey, are you doing anything socially for your team? Outside of simply coming to the gym and asking them what have they got coming in today in terms of money? Are you talking to them about their clients? Are you supporting them with their clients? Are there social events going on? I know I'm going broad range, but you've got to remember that some of these people are in the gym for 6, 10, 14 hours a day, 6 days a week in many cases. They need things to stimulate their mind as much as you do as a client or anybody else. Some of the things to motivate your personal trainers is, do you have a wall in your club? Not just a wall with pictures of PTs, but truly a personal trainer's bio where it really is about the PT, some of their clients. It's almost a testimonial wall to the success they have as well as their clients. When somebody walks into a club and sits down and they're waiting to meet a salesperson, for example, are they looking at a health magazine? Or do you actually have a scrapbook, a photo album as such, that's got all of your clients who have succeeded, all of the personal trainers they've succeeded with, so they're already feeling like they're part of the family when they come in? A wonderful phrase, business goes where it's invited and stays where it's made welcome. That's exactly the same for your PTs. Do they feel like they're invited every day? Do they feel like you welcome them? Are they having fun? Do they get a say for example, you're going to put in $100,000 worth of new equipment? Do you ask your PTs what they would like, how the gym should look? So involving them more in the business, you'll be amazed how much more they put into it themselves.
That's great advice, Tim, and I particularly love that photo album idea. I haven't heard that before, and I think that's a fantastic way for, as you say, not only the personal trainers but new members to kind of feel part of the club instantly as soon as they look through that photo album. So that's a terrific idea. Okay, now we've been talking a lot about sort of larger businesses with PT departments. Let's just flip over to, say, an independent personal trainer model. What if there is a PT out there listening who wants to grow their business? From the years of experience that you've had, what would kind of be the 3 tips that you would give them for growing their personal training business?
Yeah, it's hard to summarize it into 3, but I'll do my best. Because remember, I was in fitness, so I can only count to 8. That's why we have 2 sets of 8.
That's right. That's right.
So I would say the first thing for them, just like anybody going into any business, why are you doing it? What's your ambitions? What will your business look and feel like to you in 2 years' time if you couldn't fail? You should be asking yourself these questions before you start, because that will actually tell you what is your mission, your vision, your values, which are posh words to simply say, this is why I get out of bed, this is what I do, and these are the principles and the values that are going to guide me. So the first thing I would say to them is truly think, if I could not fail, what do I want my business to look and feel like in 2 years' time? And then never lose sight of it. So that would be step 1. Have that type of vision for yourself. Second one would be, as I said earlier in the show, we are all passionate about certain areas of the business. Even if we're good at other areas, we'll never be great unless we're passionate in it. So I would say define what is your true passion, because this is such a tough job. You're going to get out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning. You're going to get to work however you get to work, and your client's not going to turn up, and you're going to get 0 pay. Or the gym's not going to open, or something else goes wrong. And you've got to get out of bed again tomorrow morning with the same risk. But if you're doing it because it's your passion, you'll be far more successful, and it'll be very hard to stop you being successful. So identify your passion. What it is that really motivates you when you teach, what type of clientele. Is it to help athletes? Is it to help the younger generation? Is it because you want to help everybody? Is it like me, because I enjoyed working with the older adult, the recycled teenager? Once you've decided that, you can build a business plan around it. And then when all said and done, the last thing I would say to you is get the best advice you can from the easiest source, which nobody asks, your clients. Your clients can give you so much feedback. And when you think about it, they're investing in you by paying not only financially, but also their time to turn up and trust you for results. They're the best source for feedback. In those 21 questions, there's 5 questions you should be asking your clients every day. And it's all about you. But a quick side story. Back in 1996, I was that pain in the butt, personal trainer / fitness instructor, aerobics instructor, that thought the world would end if I didn't turn up to work. I was so wrong. And I remember one day I was training a client, it was middle of the week, and without thinking I said to him, I think I'm going to take the weekend off. My buddy's got tickets to some football game and I'm going to go watch the game. And I won't swear on the podcast, but he did stand up and say a few choice words to me. And when he finished screaming at me, I said to him, what's your issue? He said, have you any idea how many people plan their lives around making sure they get to see you on time? For example, my wife comes every other Saturday morning. The morning she comes to see you, I have to stay home and look after the kids and give up my golf. She looks forward to seeing you. And yet here you are standing here saying, you know what, I think I'll go watch a soccer game. He said, the reason I don't treat you professionally is because you don't act professionally. I was a bit like Meet Joe Black. I spent 6 months with him, half a day a week, just shadowing him around his business. He ran a small business. That for me was a watershed moment where I realized that actually we need to truly understand what it is we do for a living. It is a very serious business. We need to be professional, but we don't necessarily need to take ourselves so serious. One of the things that gets under my skin, and not too many these days, probably because of the wrinkles, is when people call them trainers. We're personal trainers.
Yeah.
Whether we're teaching a class, small group training, because it's the personal that makes a difference. You can download training off a website. But somebody that knows your name, that picks the phone up when you didn't come in to say, how are you? Is everything all right? Or somebody that simply says, thank you for coming in today. I appreciate it's not easy. That's the difference. That's what we need to be more like. Do we actually ask our clients on a regular basis, why did you choose me? Can you remember? Okay, why are you still coming back? What can I do to improve our time together? And do you know what? If you were my manager, how would you talk about me to other people? And the reason I say the last one, there was a personal trainer running a small business who I helped about a year ago. And he thought that everybody came to see him and he was successful because of his knowledge. He was extremely knowledgeable. But when he asked that last question, what would you say about me to other people? They actually said, because you're fun. You make us laugh. He had no idea. He said he changed his attitude to his business because of that.
Yeah.
And now he's thriving.
Okay, guys, as a special bonus for listeners of the Fitness Business Podcast, that's you guys, Tim has sent us through a copy of those 21 questions to your success that he just talked about. You can find them in this week's show notes located at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. That's it. Back to the show.
Depending on which poll you read or study or survey around the world, the answer's always the same. Once somebody starts personal training, why do they stay with their personal trainer? Motivation.
Yeah.
Now, whether that motivation is because you've got somebody who's a very serious individual, so they like you to drive them and push them, whether it's somebody that just wants to download because you are the only human being that actually listens to them during the week. I mean, when you think the average couple who get on well with each other spend 2 minutes a day talking about each other, you've got a good opportunity as a PT for 60 minutes or 30 minutes to just listen.
Yeah.
And it's making it personal. It's having fun. It's really important. There's 168 hours in a week. If they got to see us for 2 of those, it would be pretty amazing. So we have to make sure that we do something special. That's why I actually don't believe we're in the fitness business. I think fitness is the product. I believe we're in the entertainment business. Because in order to entertain them in those 2 hours or 3 hours, that's their social time. So people don't go to places they don't like, don't have fun, don't enjoy in their social time. They do that at work.
Yeah.
So it's really important that we identify what puts a smile on their face and then go do that. For example, all my clients, I would say a good 75% of the time, every session we ever did, some of the exercises were partner-based.
Mm-hmm.
So they couldn't do it without me, which meant that together we built a bond.
Yeah.
And it's really important to have fun with it. FUN, feeling unusually naughty. We had fun.
I haven't heard that before. I like that. Feeling unusually naughty. A whole new definition for the word fun. That's great. Hey, Tim, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate your time and sharing your experience today. There's been some really great information that you shared with us, and I know that a lot of our listeners will be able to take away that information and implement it within their own businesses. So thank you so much for your time today, Tim.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And obviously, I made you laugh, so therefore I achieved my goal.
The Fitness Business Podcast is very appreciative of our podcast partners. Here's a quick word from one of our partners.
Rex Roundtables is a powerful forum in Europe, the US and Australia for club owners and personal training business owners. In Australia, Justin Tamsett from Active Management runs the Rex Roundtables under the brand Industry Leaders Roundtable. In the show notes for today's episode, you'll find a YouTube link for you to watch and hear more about the roundtables. This 90-second video is a great explanation, so don't forget to check it out in today's show notes. As you know, each month we give away a fantastic prize to one lucky listener, and this month is no exception. This month, we're giving away a copy of Mike Michalowicz's book, Profit First. Now, just in case you missed it, I interviewed Mike in last week's show. It was show 24. So if you did miss it, make sure you go back and take a listen. Okay, to win the book, all you need to do is subscribe to the show notes anytime throughout November. To do that, you just have to head over to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com, and on the right-hand side of the homepage is a space that says subscribe to show notes. Leave your name and your email address and you automatically go in the draw. Do not miss out on this amazing book. And don't forget, go back and check out the show if you missed it. Last week, show 24.
It's time for the Fitness Business Podcast wrap.
What an awesome chat with Tim Keightley. I loved his advice on recruiting new personal trainers. He said, start by defining what you want your business to stand for, and then look at what personal trainer you need in order to deliver that. He also reminded us that all personal trainers should have a 12-month business plan for the health of their own business. A great way to keep PTs motivated is to include a PT wall within your club, or even a scrapbook of client success stories that both staff and members can take a look through. He also suggested to involve your PTs in the business, and that way you'll be totally amazed by how much more they contribute themselves. Last but not least, when it comes to PTs and clients, it's really important that we identify what puts a smile on their client's face. Make sure that you have fun. which Tim describes as feeling unusually naughty. Now, don't forget, we've put a copy of Tim's 21 Questions to Your Success in today's show notes, which you will find at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. Thank you for joining me for yet another week. I hope you have a fantastic week up ahead. Keep learning, keep growing, and remember, what you leave behind is not what's engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others.
You have been listening to the world's #1 podcast called the Fitness Business Podcast, brought to you by Active Management. We are dedicated to helping your fitness business #grow in 2015. Check out www.activemgmt.com.au for resources, tools, and more to help you. And by far, the best value for you is to become a member, so join today at www.activemgmt.com.au.